love the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get to Henry's at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food. Henry's soul food. What do we need? Soul food. Henry's soul food.
Welcome to the Armstrong-Williams Show, brought to you by Golden Crust Bakery, the fastest growing Caribbean-owned franchise in the United States. Golden Crust is committed to the delivery of quality food and excellent customer service. Visit them today at goldencrustbakery.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Armstrong-Williams Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Logan Delany, how are you today?
Good, Armstrong. How are you?
Just fine. Jerry Anderson, how are you?
I am doing great, Armstrong. Thank you.
Jerry is in our studio, and our guest, who's joining us via telephone, John Campbell, who's running for office, of all things. John, how are you today?
Doing really well. Thanks for asking.
Yes. Why do people still run for office and they get to Congress or wherever they go and they become the problem instead of the solution? John, why in the world are you running for office?
I'm running because, I think that things are in such a state of disarray right now. It's almost at the point of no return. And I think there aren't enough young people involved in our civic conversation. So, my capacity as an assemblyman in New Jersey, I'm really trying to catalyze more young people to get involved in the process, because I think that's what we need. If we want to talk about facilitating change, we need to be about that change. And as young people, we need to step up to the plate and become involved.
Logan, he's 24 years old, small business owner, property owner, and recent Babson College grad, where he served as president of the student body for 3 consecutive years. Do you think he knows what he's getting into?
Well, excuse me, John. If I were in your position, I'd get my business, firm and prosperous, and then go run for assemblyman. I mean, I have a lot of friends and acquaintances who ran for office, and they spent a lot of money, a lot of time, and most of them come out frustrated. I'm glad guys like you do it, because it keeps the process honest. But if you were my son saying, "Hey, Dad, should I go run?" I would say, hell no. I'd say, go get your business started, get your business running, make sure you got enough money in the bank to support yourself and your family. And then when you are fully established and you want to, find a way of serving, then go serve.
Obviously you have entrepreneurs galore on the air today. I'm sure our guests today have a combined $1 billion worth of business between them. Jerry, what you're looking at, you here in John, you're in for Berlin, Ohio. You run cables and direct TV and all that good stuff in the television space, and you own Lored. What advice do you have for him? I mean, he's 24 years old. I know he means well. He wants to make the world better, but can the world become better?
I had 2 things that crossed my mind when he was speaking. One, he was 24 years old. Wow. He really wants to change the world at a young age. And I thought back when I was 24, what I was able to bring to the table. I don't know if I had much I could bring to the table. However, there's a lot of great men that's been coming to Washington, and I'm not sure that they've made a difference. So I kind of like your guest speaker there that said, go make something happen first in your life, and then come to Washington. I've been thinking, Armstrong, Wouldn't it be nice if maybe you could only run for eight years here in Washington, and then you have to go home, and maybe businessmen would come in and spend their time and work, and then have to go home and not make a career here in Washington? I think that career has hurt us.
Yeah, it's you know what? You lose sight of the greater good, of the purpose, and it becomes about your own interests.
That's right.
About lining your pocket with money and resources and making contact. It's not about the people. What do you run?
Jerry made a very good point about having term limits, and we'll get into this later, but I really think that what's really important is that the people who are in Washington or in Trenton are the people who should, who really represent the people. They're not professional politicians. It would be nice to have not professional politicians, but the people in these various assemblies in Congress.
John,
absolutely. And
John, what are you running as?
Sure, I'm running as a Republican.
Oh, really?
I'm running as a Republican, and
well, that's encouraging. I didn't know that. I assume anybody in New Jersey is running as a Democrat.
Oh no, no, not this time. I joke with people. My dad's a Republican, mom's a Democrat. I come from a mixed marriage, right? But they've definitely helped shape my political ideology. I've seen both sides of the aisle. And I just feel that philosophically, as far as my small business experience, as far as my experiences that I've had in college, before and after, I feel that philosophically, I align better with Republicans, and I'm proud to be running as one.
Tell us about your entrepreneurial history, which started at age 19.
Absolutely. Started my first business of 4 at age 19, a sneaker business up in Massachusetts. I was working with United States Senator Scott Brown, and I had some experience, liaising between him and the small business community. And what it came down to for me was that the job market doesn't offer the same security that it once did, right? So instead of relying on that, I said, let's take my destiny, put my destiny in my own hands, and not be working, for someone else and relying on someone else to write my paycheck. And it was difficult. It took us a year and a half before we were actually in the black. But since then, we've done really well. I've incubated a few others. They've failed. But I'll tell you what, I learned a hell of a lot from those failures, just like I've learned from the successes that my first business had. So I'd really like to parlay those skill sets into the assembly in New Jersey. There's no small business liaison there right now. And, I've had about 6 years of small business experience. I don't have a wealth of small business experience, but the experiences that I had, I think, would be beneficial. And, you guys talked about term limits. I wouldn't be adamantly opposed to that at all. I think the main reason that I'm running against the opposition is that they've grown too complacent. They've served for 20-plus years, and that complacency that exists, it's almost inevitable. I don't even think I'd be immune to that. So I think term limits are absolutely the way to go. I think you need the fresh ideas, you need the fresh perspectives in there if you really want to facilitate the change that we need.
Logan, I think it is significant that he's running as a Republican. I think it's important. I think that is different, and I think that is significant. We really encourage you. It's not that we have just grown tired and dismayed with politics and politicians, but you know what? There's not really much to be proud of today when you think about our political system, Logan.
Well, here's the other thing that you have to ask: how many people get sucked in? They get elected, and they get sucked in by the apparent power and prestige that they have, and they never return. It's like, you remember Star Wars, and you go to the dark side. You have the Force, but you go to the dark side. That's sort of what politics is like.
Yep.
Armstrong, I think back in history of our forefathers, and correct me if I'm wrong. You live in Washington, you know it. But I believe that our forefathers, they came in as successes in wherever they were living, and they knew they were going to come here for 4 years or 8 years, and they were going to go home. It wasn't a long-term thought. It was they were coming. They were giving back to the community that they've already, that they did well in their own. Well, when you do well at what you're doing there, then why wouldn't you do well when you come here? And I think that's the problem is that we look at politicians today as that's a career. We got to get rid of the career thinking, and let's bring in some guys that are making life work. They make life work, then they can make our country work.
Let me just say this to John. Jerry makes a very interesting point. Many people who run for office have had incredible and amazing success in their lives, empowering communities. I look at what you were able to do at such a young age through your church organization, and how you've given back to the youth, mentoring countless of children and fighting to give them a better life. But oftentimes when you're elected, you cannot translate that into your elected position. Why? And how would you be any different? John?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I had a tough time hearing you on the latter part of that. No, I definitely hear where you're coming from. And my position is such. Like you said, it's tough. To translate those skill sets that you have outside. A lot of times into elected office. But the issue that I have, in my particular district, one of the main reasons that I ran was the crime rates. They're exorbitant. And one of my major platforms is reentry. I'm looking at, the cost of incarceration being, $35,000. And as a small business guy, I'm looking at it from a cost-benefit analysis, right? So $35,000 a year, why not look at incentivizing small businesses to employ these people?
Hold that point for us. When we hear that music, we're putting a break. Our very special guest, John Campbell, 24-year-old business owner, running for office, New Jersey.
Say bye-bye burgers, pass on the pizza, forget the francs. Anytime is party time. Discover Golden Cross's authentic Jamaican-style patties. Beef, chicken, vegetables, soya, spinach, and shrimp. Feast on our great taste sensations. Jerk chicken, oxtail, sliced fish, and much more. Savor the taste of the Caribbean. Only at a Golden Cross near you. A family tradition since 1949. GoldenCrossBakery.com.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams. What does it mean to be conservative? Freedom of speech, freedom of free enterprise, freedom of assembly, less government, less taxes. As a matter of fact, a flat tax. Everyone should pay proportional tax. It doesn't matter whether you make $100 million or $10,000. Everyone should pay their 10%. Everyone should have something at stake in this American economy. I'm Armstrong Williams, expressing what we mean by conservative traditional value.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams with an opportunity to own a piece of paradise in Nassau, Bahamas. Spectacular land prices, 8,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet lot, affordable prices, hilltop properties with views of the magnificent sea. Just call 242-677-3120 or 3121 or go to info@rightsidewire.com and leave your information.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
John, I hear you having a little difficulty hearing me. Is that better?
That's much better. Thank you so much.
Well, I had my mic down. But go ahead. You were responding to translating that success into office if you were to win.
Yes, absolutely. And, it goes back to what I was saying about in terms of reaching, the young people. I think right now, it's kind of difficult for them to subscribe to the teachings and the service of a lot of these elected officials, because I look at the New Jersey State Assembly, the average age is 59. Not that that's old. My parents are considerably older than that. However, I think if you're trying to reach, the 18 to 35 demographic, they want to feel like they've got a voice out there. So as far as someone who's, not too far removed from them, who's dealing with, $80,000 in student debt right now, who's concerned about job creation, this is the toughest time to come into the job market, a tougher time than it has been in quite some time to come out. So, issues that are sensitive and germane to the 18 to 35 demographic, I believe that I can address those. I believe that, I'm a much-needed voice of reason for them down in that state legislature.
Logan?
Well, I think it's good to have young people in the legislature, but it's not because older people can't relate to the issues of young people, but because it brings in new ideas, because it brings in fresh thinking, because it requires people who are in the legislature, other legislators, and also constituents to really sort of think about fresh ideas. So I think in that sense, having young people and having a mix of people in the legislature is a good idea, but not because they specifically represent or have a unique perspective on young people.
It's an interesting thought. I like some people that's been around making something happen, and John, taking nothing against you, I don't know enough about you to say you got my vote, but I do like experience. I like some successes that brings new ideas and fresh ideas that they see it work here and they could say, hey, that'll work there too. When you said the job market, increase the job market, New Jersey may be different than other parts of the country that I'm familiar with, but I think we have a lot of jobs in the country. And if I was in legislature today, this is what I think I would be working on, would not necessarily be the job market, but with the value of the worker. We are being bypassed as a nation because of the quality of the worker that we have to work with. In my office in Ohio, last week I had 5 people come in to apply for a job, and all 5 flunked the drug test. The next day I was in Canton, Ohio, Armstrong, and I was getting some blood work done for myself, and I asked them, I said, hey, do you do drug tests here? Oh, yeah, that's what we do. How many fail, how many pass? They said 1 out of 4. Oh, 1 out of 4 flunks. Oh, no, they said. And they laughed. 3 out of 4 flunks.
What? I've heard this.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and that's the problem. I mean, we have jobs. We have jobs in America. We just don't have people that can show up and work.
What do you say to that, John?
Well, I think that it starts with, and it goes back to the crime and the issues that I'm trying to address through my re-entry. We've got to create a cultural context of success, right? I'm acutely aware of the fact that had it not been for me leaving, town and going to private school for high school, I may not be apprised of this opportunity or the opportunity to start a business or many of the opportunities that I've been awarded. We absolutely have to create a cultural context of success for our young people. We've got to have high standards, and we've got to look at training them. And I just really believe that, given my experience as a small business owner, as a property owner, and as a recent college grad, I'm in a unique position to mentor them and to, show them the light. And, going back to what I believe it was Logan who was saying, being young definitely isn't the answer. That's not the only reason I'm running. It just so happens that I'm young and things are in such a state of disarray that, my parents, grandparents, a lot of my relatives are around, and it's getting harder and harder. And Florida's getting more and more competitive. We need to do something to get New Jersey back to work again. But absolutely, the people need to be qualified, and we need to be we need to ensure that they're ready, willing, and able to get a job if we're presenting these opportunities to them.
John, I don't want to be cynical about this, but this may be a great opportunity, your lack of experience, because if I looked at President Obama's resume prior to his running, there was nothing on there that indicated he had any success in the business world, in the political world, except in running a campaign. And he was elected basically President of the United States with a resume that you would not hire to run a local Walmart's, let alone being governor of a state or any other kind of big business. As a matter of fact, you probably wouldn't have picked him to run your local Walgreens drugstore. Okay, so Americans seem to like people who have inexperience or who are inexperienced, don't have any great track record of success, but they have ideas,
Sure.
And whether the ideas are well thought out or not, it seems to me that Americans are more likely to vote for somebody who has charisma and knows how to deliver the ideas, whether they're good ideas or not.
Right. Definitely. I couldn't agree more. Again, that's not the reason I'm running, but with my, I won't say lack of experience, but little experience, in the private sector, I think that I've had conversations with people in the legislature, and they've had 20 years experience legislating, but they started, everyone has to start somewhere, and when they started, the entrepreneurial experience, the experience, creating jobs and having to deal with issues like minimum wage hikes and, having to break the news to people that, you can't hire them, you can't keep them employed. I mean, these are real life experiences, difficult experiences that I've had that I think will certainly benefit me. But, I've definitely got a lot to learn, and, I don't look forward, I'm not going to say I look forward to learning, at the expense of the taxpayers, but, I do look forward to bringing that experience and learning. I don't profess to fix everything. The term is 2 years. I don't profess to fix everything or promise to fix everything in 2 years, but I think I can get us on the right trajectory.
How do you plan to get them on the right trajectory that is so different from what we have now?
Well, I'll tell you, it goes back to what I was saying about things being in such a state of disarray. In my town, you've got unemployment at 11%.
We understand the problem. We understand the problem. Tell us how you plan to make a difference.
Oh, absolutely. So looking at my experience as a small business owner, I'd really like to be the small business liaison. One of the major issues that I mentioned is property tax values, that we're losing more and more people because the property taxes are rising and rising. One of the businesses that I have involves appealing property taxes, so I know what it takes to look at assessments and determine how to get those down and attempt to stabilize property taxes. So the property values in my municipality and my district, the properties need to be reassessed. We need to look at reassessing those. We need to look at bringing in more small businesses so that we increase those rateables and stabilize property taxes. We need to look at, again, creating a cultural context of success. I look at Silicon Valley out in California, USC, UCLA. These were colleges out there that made their colleges, they made their tuition affordable. Okay, Rutgers is going up in New Jersey, that's our state university, it's going up at 6% a year. And that 6% ends up being $400 or $500. That's the difference for some people in being able to afford college and not afford it. So I think if we look at making college more affordable, and possibly looking, incentivizing young people to stick around, to work, to be contributing members of society. We could look at attracting the best and the brightest, like they did in California. That's how Silicon Valley was built. It's not as simple as stabilizing the tuition and rates and stuff like that. But I think that small steps and precautions could be taken, such as those, to look at bringing New Jersey forward and getting New Jersey back to work again.
John, I don't know the politics of New Jersey very well, but I suspect that it's overwhelmingly Democratic. The Democrats control the Assembly.
Sure.
That things work more or less on a seniority system. So a young person coming in, newly elected assemblyman, is at the bottom of the totem pole.
Right.
They get listened to after they've been there for a while, but basically the senior leadership doesn't pay attention to them. What they want to do, they put them on committees that the senior leadership wants.
Don't want.
Okay, wants them to be in, right? Whether you want to be there or not. And so it seems to me, and I assume that's the way New Jersey works, and if you're in the minority party, you have even less influence to make these things happen. So the question I have for you is, how do you get around those structural impediments so that you can make a difference?
Absolutely. Well, you had asked about being in the majority or the minority. Being a Republican in New Jersey, of course, we are in the minority. On the Assembly side, it's by 8 seats. On the Senate side, it's by 5 seats. So we definitely have our work cut out for us in terms of getting in the majority so that we can, control these leadership, spots in these committees and, have the ability to appoint people to those. And, it goes back to what I was saying about being wet behind the ears, getting involved. I don't profess to roll out and execute. I don't profess to execute these strategies and these ideas that I have in the first 2 years in office. I think that it's something that's going to take time.
Oh, wow. John just stated we're going to come back and say goodbye to you. Let me say goodbye to Jerry because I know he's got to run. We'll be back on the other side of the break. Jerry, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Armstrong.
We'll be back.
Hi, Mike Reagan here. The president has just delayed his Obamacare employee mandate for 1 year. But nothing has changed. The Congressional Budget Office still predicts 7 million Americans will lose their current insurance, and thousands of rules are being implemented today. Obamacare is over 20,000 pages, almost 3 times longer than the whole IRS tax code. Worse, the IRS is now in charge of enforcing the law. You need to protect yourself, your family, and your business with the easy-to-read guide. It's called the Obamacare Survival Guide. Already a #1 New York Times bestseller, Newsmax calls it the best guide to the new law. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide today at bookstores everywhere, or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Life is full of unexpected changes. Everyone has potential to do wrong. And when they choose to do it, contact the Bucksell Group for your private investigation needs. TheBucksellGroup.com or by phone at 202-243-9746. Whether there's an instance of a cheating spouse, child custody, process service, or security, don't continue suspecting. Get closure so that you can move on with your life. Visit TheBucksellGroup.com now or call 202-243-9746. If you think it's happening, it probably is.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfila.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfila.com.
Elder Chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And welcome back to the show. Logan, let me raise this with you before we say goodbye to John. What is the state of the economy and entrepreneurs today and in the future?
Well, let's speak about where it is today. We have a very, very slow, tepid recovery. Growth rates are very, very low by historical standards coming out of a recession. We think we see green shoots, and then a couple of weeks later we get poor numbers. We haven't had 2 quarters in a row of decent numbers. Now, where we stand right now, we know that unemployment appears to be coming down, but when you look more closely at it, you see 2 things. You see, one is that it's the people dropping out of the workforce that make the unemployment rate appear to go down, not more people working. Because if you look at the more important number, which is the participation rate, that number's coming down. It's almost as low as it's ever been. The other thing you look at is the quality of the jobs, and you notice that there are a lot of people working in part-time work and at jobs for which they're overqualified for. And then the final thing that you look at is youth unemployment, minority unemployment, and they're both a disgrace. So the economy, when you look at it from the point of view of human capital and people, what's happening, this has just been a very, very difficult economy. Yes, we've been recovering slowly, but the recovery is not the kind of recovery that makes the average American feel good. If you look at the future, you look at a couple of things that are potentially pending. One is that they want to raise the minimum wage from $7.25 to $9. This is something that President Obama has proposed, and something that John just made a reference to earlier in the program. Well, if you're a small employer, if you're a small business, and you're looking at basically a 20%, 25% increase in your hourly labor cost, plus you've got to take on Obamacare benefits, health care benefits, you're looking at potentially a 25 to 50% increase in the cost of labor. That does not give you a good feeling. You don't know whether that wage increase is going to happen, but you know Obamacare is going to happen. And what you're looking towards is, okay, how do I avoid Obamacare? One is you hire people part-time, less than 30 hours a week. And number 2, what you do is you hire fewer people. So you're hiring fewer people and part-time people, and that ameliorates your problem. So I just don't see a lot of, I see a lot of overhang still in the market. Yeah, the financial sector has done well, but the financial sector only impacts people who have investable assets, and that's not most Americans.
John, how do you respond to what Logan is saying?
I hear it loud and clear, and it's one of those things. People look at increasing size of government, right? It's relative to me because I'm running for office. Someone's got to pay for that, and 9 out of 10 times, the small businesses are the ones who are getting hit. And as a small business owner myself, I hire based on my profits. Yeah, that's the unfortunate reality of it. I have to hire based on my profits. So if my profits are dwindling, I can't create the jobs that I was creating at one time. And, I think that really cripples the economy because small business are the centrifugal force of it. So increasing the size of government and, increasing minimum wage, I think these are adverse factors in this, whole thing about empowering small business. We've got to empower, not inhibit.
Obviously, Logan, the GOP wants to, if you read the tea leaves, shut down the government. They're demanding that Obamacare is defunded. Why is it that, look, the public is overwhelmingly against Obamacare, so obviously the public sentiments reflect those elected officials that they put in power in Congress. What is it that is so upsetting about Obamacare? Not only just the GOP, but the very the strong ally that the president had in the unions are vehemently against it as well. What has happened?
I think there are a couple of things. One is the president made a promise to the American people that if you have a policy and you like it, you can keep it. That is just not the case. And the unions have found this out the hard way. There are a lot of Americans who are going to have to take on a different insurance policy that may not be as good as the one that they have. And so that's one thing. The second thing is that if you look at the kind of insurance policy that you might want to have just a catastrophic policy, which if you are a young man, that makes a lot of sense. A catastrophic policy is very inexpensive for young men if it's done on an actuarial basis. But one of the things that Obamacare is doing is that it says that you have to have community rating on the insurance policies. And what it means is that basically no matter what your demographic profile is, whether you're young and healthy or old and unhealthy, you have to pay more or less the same premium. There can't be a big disparity in the premium. What that does is that it forces young people to subsidize older, unhealthy people. And so young people are going to find out, if they haven't already found out, that their insurance premiums are going to skyrocket because they are being forced to subsidize older, unhealthy people because insurance companies can't base the premiums to young people on their actuarial health.
You see, John, the reason why you're still on the air, because these are kind of issues that you really need to digest and understand and make your own, because these issues really impact your generation. And so when people just cry out that the GOP want to defund Obamacare and it's based on politics, or they just like the president, brother in the White House, and yet forget about the mirror where over 60% of the American people are absolutely against it because it doesn't work. These are the issues that people need to understand. And for someone like you running for office, you're in the best position to articulate it and make people understand.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more with you. And your gentleman was talking about young people's the premiums and stuff going up. There's so much fluff in that Obamacare. A lot gets lost in translation. And I'm in a district where you've got Democrats, unaffiliated, and independents primarily who have subscribed to the fluff that exists in this Obamacare. So, it's just a matter of communicating that to them in a respectful way. Go bashing the president, bashing Obamacare. Listen, let's make sure that we're able to have an articulate conversation about this. This is what the Obamacare is really about. Take the time to read it. I don't know who's going to take the time to read it because there's thousands of pages, but do your research, read some commentary, see what it's about before you develop these notions about it that are inaccurate.
Logan, also explain to him why raising the minimum wages, while it may sound good and look well as a faceplate of giving young people more money, just tell them why it's disastrous for small businesses, but more importantly, why it's disastrous for the very people you're trying to help.
It hurts. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, John.
Go ahead, Logan.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I couldn't. You were going in and out there. Couldn't tell you were addressing, but I'll just be brief. You know, it hurts. You know, because what it does.
Oh, no. What I want Logan to do is explain it to you, and then you push it back to us.
No problem.
Okay.
Go ahead, Logan.
Logan, go ahead.
Yeah. Look, it doesn't make any sense that if you won't hire, if you're a small business person, or if you are a person, a woman at home looking for somebody to babysit, if you're not going to hire somebody at $7.25, which is the present minimum wage, what makes you think you're going to hire somebody at $9? And the real cost is that if you do force the minimum wage up, businesses are going to have two responses. One is that they're going to hire fewer people because their costs will go up, which would create more unemployment. And secondly, to the extent that they can't not hire fewer people, they have to maintain their profit margins. So they're going to raise their cost. So if you are a McDonald's franchisee and you have this McDonald's restaurant, your costs go up 20%. You're going to raise your prices to reflect your cost. And that's going to be borne by middle-class, working-class Americans. If you are a young family, you want to hire a babysitter to go out to the movies, and your cost goes up from $7.25 to $9, basically 20%, and you have a certain
hold the 20%. Hold the 20%, Logan. We're coming back. Logan Delany, John Campbell, is running for office, the 22nd District of New Jersey. We'll be back. Don't go away. Hold that 22%.
Say bye-bye burgers, pass on the pizza, forget the francs. Anytime is party time. Discover Golden Cross's authentic Jamaican-style patties. Beef, chicken, vegetables, soya, spinach, and shrimp. Feast on our great taste sensations. Jerk chicken, oxtail, sliced fish, and much more. Savor the taste of the Caribbean. Only at a Golden Cross near you. A family tradition since 1949. GoldenCrossBakery.com.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org. paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Continue with the 22% of the minimum wage, Logan.
Yeah. So if the minimum wage goes up to 20, it's actually 24%. That means that the family trying to hire a babysitter is going to find that they can hire their babysitter for 3 hours, where they used to be able to hire her for 4 hours. And then the final point, and this is perhaps the most important point, is that roughly half of the people who make minimum wage are teenagers and people who are there in their first job. They're getting experience. And if they're getting experience, within 6 months to a year, they're moving off the minimum wage. They're learning good business skills. They're learning a trade. They're learning what it's like to be in the market, and they're making some extra change in the meantime. What you do by raising the minimum wage is that you make these people who are not very productive at their first job, you make employers less willing to hire young, inexperienced workers, and that further exacerbates a youth unemployment problem that we currently have.
John?
Yes.
Your comments.
Hey, yes, absolutely. I mean, we talk about, creating this cultural context of success and me catalyzing, young people to become involved and to, further themselves. If we look at increasing the minimum wage, I can personally attest, as a small business owner, it's difficult when you look at increasing your expenses by 20%, because that's going to translate into, like Logan said, a 20% increase in your prices. No small business owner wants to have to do that. And, anyone who understands simple economics knows that things are cyclical, and that you have to increase your expenses, you've got to increase your prices, which is not a good thing, and increasing that minimum wage, that's essentially creating an artificial ceiling for people, so as far as aspiring to do any better, it makes it all the more difficult. And again, Logan said 50% of the people who are getting minimum wage are college students. They should be doing it for experience. All the jobs that I had, as a high school or as a college student were for free as an intern, and I was happy to get that experience. It would have been nice to get paid in the process, but at the end of the day, as competitive as the job market is, and at the time I thought I would graduate and get a job instead of creating my own, it is very difficult. So we've got to look at it not as a situation where we need to increase this to help people. It's really hurting people by increasing the minimum wage because of that safety net that it creates.
Logan, especially for people who are running for office and they're the age of Mr. Campbell here. I mean, if you even out on the campaign trail, there are certain messages that people need to hear that they don't hear because sometimes you stick with the cookie cutter approach. If you were recommending issues for John to discuss on the campaign trail and even champion after he's elected, where he can really make a difference and really distinguish himself, what would be your recommendations?
Well, my first recommendation is know your district. All politics is ultimately local, and know what's really driving your constituents. Now, I just looked up your district in the on the web as we were talking, and I suspect that's not the most correct me if I'm wrong. It's not the most prosperous area of New Jersey. Is that correct?
Right. Absolutely.
Lower middle class, working class.
Lower middle is accurate. Yes.
Okay. So, so the issues that you have to put forth are issues that concern your local people. Now, you did raise, the issue of property taxes, but greater issues are basically
foreclosures. I mean, is a simple. Yeah, it's a.
For foreclosures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely going on the property tax value. Yep.
Yeah. So I think what you have to do is figure out what those economic issues are that in your district, which are people's hot buttons, and distinguish your position versus the incumbent, and why you will better represent those people. In your particular district, I don't know what they are, but I suspect that there are a lot of economic issues, like concerning employment. How
Absolutely.
are you going to
we talked about the 11% unemployment, the foreclosures, the property taxes, the crime. These are issues that are really germane to urban areas. I was born and raised here. I'm acutely aware of the issues. I have experience in real estate, and sitting with people at their kitchen tables and, having them explain to me the fact that, they've 30 years on the job and, it's just getting tougher and tougher with property taxes increasing, and they've got to short sell their home, or they're facing foreclosure. I mean, these issues definitely need to be addressed in the urban communities.
Okay, when that happens, we normally lose somebody. Let me see. Did we lose someone? John, are you there? Well, we lost John. Logan, are you there?
Yeah, is John there?
John, did we lose you? We lost John. Yes, we lost John, but I'm sure they'll call him back. So, Logan, go ahead. You got to continue the dialogue. I don't know what happens when it sort of gets a little loud, but we're moving. We're moving. So Logan, while we're waiting on John to come back, what are you reading these days? Logan, did I lose you? Oh, my goodness. Well, I guess I'm solo. 1-866-620-6620. There are so many important issues that needs to be addressed. I mean, responsibility means that you are dependable. When you are responsible, others can trust you to get your work done and do what is expected. You can be responsible with your work. You can also be responsible by keeping the promises you make to others and being on time. Hard work means you never give up. No matter how many hours you spend on something, you've got to keep going. Responsibility and hard work helps you combat foolish behavior. When you use responsibility and hard work, you make more good choices. You will like the rewards you get when you're responsible and hardworking. Some rewards can be getting good grades and feeling good about yourself. Parents, teachers, and friends will notice that you can be trusted. So it's important. John, welcome back. I knew something happened when the noise hit. We normally lose someone when that noise hit. But you were saying something. Logan, John, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Logan, please continue. John is on the air.
Okay. It's very easy for a politician to go out and say, especially if you have a lower middle class community, we're going to give you A, B, and C, whether it's, free health care, whether it's, we're going to raise your minimum wage. Oh, it's going to be that, we're going to create more policemen. We're going to do all these things, and it's not going to cost you anything. We're going to give you something, and it's not going to cost you anything. Okay? Well, in the real world, somebody has to pay.
Absolutely.
And the question is, how do you overcome your opponent who's going to say, I'm giving you something, and it's not going to cost you anything, and he or she is not leveling with his or her constituents, that somebody's going to have to pay. And when somebody pays, even if it's not that particular voter, it may be some other person in that community or some other community. It takes money out of the private sector and into the public sector. And, I mean, how do you explain that when you take money out of the private sector, that, sucks up jobs?
Let me get in some calls. We've had calls on the board, but I've been so intense with this dialogue, we did not go to the phone lines. Let me try to get Alan's voice in on the debate. Alan, thank you for your patience. You're on the air.
Yes, how you all doing today?
Just fine.
Good, Alan. How are you?
Good. There was a comment or a question regarding the candidate and giving advice on, what he would need to do to capture that community. But I would really say having your fingers on the pulse of a community is one thing, but if you don't know what the media is going to project and how they're going to project it, knowing what the community want and even having the back of what the community want really will go nowhere. And you have to be able to know what the media is going to take, and then hopefully you can slip in, your desires and needs, because if the media don't agree with what you're trying to push, you really won't get far.
I don't know about that. John, do you agree with that comment? And thank you for calling, Alan.
Yeah. Thanks for your call, Alan. It is a difficult juggling act, if you will. But one thing I'll say, in my experience as a candidate in the 22nd Legislative District, the opposition has been serving. I'm 24 years old and essentially been in office for 24 years, so quite some time. And things are just we're witnessing a downward spiral. And I mentioned earlier, it's almost to the point of no return. So as far as all of the promises and stuff, I mean, what can you tell them at this point that hasn't been said? Nothing's changing. The status quo essentially hasn't gotten it done. And not saying that, I'm, necessarily, or, just because the status quo isn't working, whoever's running is the answer. But, again, it goes back to my experience as a small business owner and as a young person, as a property taxpayer. I think that the skill sets that I've obtained would be helpful in the state legislature, and in a district where the status quo hasn't gotten it done, and the promises, have been empty.
Well, you know what? I must tell you, we really wish you well. It takes courage and sacrifice and so much discipline to want to run and serve our nation in any capacity, whether it's on the local, state, or regional level. So we congratulate you. We thank you so much for joining us. Logan, it's always a pleasure having you on. You are listening to our guest, John Campbell, New Jersey's 22nd District. All the best, John.
Thank you.
Take care, Logan.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show,